MacVoices is brought to you by Squarespace. Everything you need to create an exceptional website. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase, visit squarespace.com and use the offer code MacVoices6. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the Talk of the Mac community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, I'm happy to welcome back again. He's becoming kind of a fixture around here, Mr. Greg Scown of Smile. This time he's here to tell us about the newest version of TextExpander Touch. Greg, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Chuck, it's a pleasure, and it was good to see you last week during WWDC.
It was. Unfortunately, we only got to cross paths a couple times. I left Alt WWDC before both you and Gene did your presentations, but it was a great event. And, of course, WWDC, what can you say? That was another great event. And the Smile Party was a great event and, a number of other things during the week.
Sounds like you had a pretty good time. And my hat's off certainly to the Alt WWDC crew. They just did a fantastic job. They knocked it out of the park.
They really did. They really did. It was very interesting for me to go and see people that came from all over the world to sit around the corner from WWDC with no ticket, no chance of getting in, just to interact with their fellow developers, trade tips and tricks, listen to some great talks like the ones you and Gene did, although I wasn't there for those because I'd already headed home. But it was a great week the whole way around.
Agreed, absolutely.
So, Greg, we're here to talk about the newest version of TextExpander Touch. But I think it might be good if we just backed up a little bit and reminded people of what this is. On the Mac, TextExpander isn't something that I don't use every day. I use it like multiple times an hour because it's just become so integrated into my workflow. When you brought out TextExpander Touch on the iPad, I thought, this is great, but because of the iOS limitations, you were having to work around some things. And since then, a lot of improvements have been made. A lot more programs have adopted it. So how about if we take TextExpander Touch from the ground up and work our way up then to some of the new features?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, let's talk about what TextExpander does. It's designed to save you time when you're typing. And so the simplest example is I have an abbreviation capital T, small x. And whenever I type capital T, small x, it expands into TextExpander. And I use that all the time. Then I have, abbreviations for our website URL and for my email address and all sorts of things. I mean, anything that's over 4 or 5 characters that you type more than a few times a day, then it's worth making an abbreviation and having them expand into a snippet. So that's the simplest reason to use TextExpander. On the Mac, TextExpander runs in every app, and it runs in the background. And this is super handy. On the iOS, unfortunately, we can't do that. This is a limitation of the iOS, not a limitation of Smile, as it were. If we could do better, I'm sure we would. But under the current circumstances, what we can do is we've created a software development kit that we provide free of charge to other third-party software developers. And we've worked hard to try and get software developers that offer productivity apps that focus on writing or things where you actually spend a lot of time typing on your iOS device. So we now have TextExpander support built into OmniFocus, built into Things, built into Drafts, built into Byword, built into IA Writer, and the list goes on. We have it on our website. It's at smilesoftware.com/apps, APPS. And so you can see if your app is one of the 160 plus apps that are supported by TextExpander, or rather that support TextExpander on iOS.
160 plus. Is that all, Greg?
Hey, we've been working. So, in fact, the presentation that I gave at Alt WWDC was about how to add TextExpander Touch to your iOS app. So hopefully we'll add some more as a result of that presentation.
That's one of the things that makes Smile so successful is you get out, you interact with other developers, you give them the tools they need, and 160 apps kind of proves it. That and the fact that this software is so useful.
Well, we tried to create sort of a virtuous circle. So we tried to create something which we can give to developers, which allows them to implement a new feature in their app in a relatively short time frame, and that in turn, we have other developers who are effectively helping us sell TextExpander and broadening its base on iOS. So, we like to try and think that works for everyone involved.
Yeah, it does feel like a win-win, and maybe a triple win, because it's a win for you, a win for the developer, definitely a win for all the users. So
That's what we hope.
yeah.
So in addition, in TextExpander Touch 2, we've added two new things. So we've added support for fill-ins, and we've added support for formatted text. So let me first explain what a fill-in is. A fill-in is basically a fill in the blank. So you can set up a snippet that has spaces for a name or a product name or a pop-up with reasons that your delivery is going to be late or reasons that your delivery will be on time. And so something that you use regularly, but you want to customize a little bit. And so it gives you basically a template for filling in a big batch of text as opposed to just that big batch of text itself. And so fill-ins have been available on the Mac since TextExpander 3, and we improved them in TextExpander 4, and now we're incredibly excited to bring them to the iOS.
So fill-ins, I guess that we're talking about something like in email, like your example for, why your thing's going to be late. We're not talking about the form fill-ins that you find sometimes in the web browsers, but you're actually talking about a structured kind of snippet, I guess, a structured kind of snippet that you can paste into your email or into drafts or whatever, and then fill in the blanks as you see fit.
Yeah, well, you fill it in basically at the time that you expand your abbreviation. So let's actually take the example of an apology letter for a late product, where you want to say, "Dear first name, comma, we're very sorry that your product order is delayed. It's unfortunate, but, comma," and a little pop-up menu for what happened, period. Please accept my apologies, your humble servant, comma, and then maybe a fill-in or maybe a pop-up with different salutations. So you type, sorry late as all one word, and then up comes this window. And the window actually looks a lot like HTML web browser fill-in form. The reason it looks like that is because basically under the hood, that's what it is. And so you're able to then fill in the name, interact with the pop-up, set things up the way you want, and then hit return or hit OK, depending on how complex your fill-in is. And then the entire text, and including everything from your pop-ups and everything from your fill-ins, is inserted in one go.
Just that simple.
Well, we also have a video from David Sparks on our website that shows you this in action. And he has his theoretical hat company, and he gets to show you what Hats does with TextExpander Touch fill-ins. And I think it's a good way to sort of see, and I think once you do see it, you'll understand it immediately.
David has too much time on his hands with some of these companies that he creates, but that's another story.
David has a fantastic sense of humor, and it is a great pleasure to have his videos, I got to say.
Yeah, he does. He's a real character, and when you meet him, you don't think about it as being that humorous, but he's got an evil side, I think, somewhere down there.
No, he's kind of sly. He seems a little dry in person, and then he turns around with one of these videos and he cracks me up completely.
So, Greg, creating these things, that's another part of TextExpander, of the TextExpander ecosystem that I like, because I can create these on my Mac, can I not?
Absolutely. You can create them on your Mac. You can sync them via Dropbox with multiple iOS devices and multiple Macs. In fact, that's what we do here at Smile, for our own purposes every day. So we make that easy for users as well.
Yeah, that to me is one of the best things, because now all those snippets that I've created on my Mac are automatically available in TextExpander supported apps on the iPhone and iPad. So it's just an absolute win.
Sure, and the reverse is true. So let's say you're out on the road and you make a snippet on your iOS device, then you actually have it back on your Mac when you get home. So that's also handy.
Okay, so that's fill-ins. Let's talk about formatted text, because I guess I'm used to thinking in terms of HTML, where I use TextExpander snippets with all the HTML tags to format it. But this is something a little bit different.
Sure, this is formatted or rich text. This is sort of when if it seems completely second nature on a Mac. I mean, if you were in TextEdit and you wanted something bold, you select it and you hit Command B and it's bold. Or you select it, you bring up the font panel, you change the font, you change the size, maybe you change it, some other aspect of it. And this is relatively new to iOS, and it's not supported in every app. And apps are rolling out support for this as we move along. But it is well supported in Mail, which is fantastic, and it's also well supported in Safari. And so you can use TextExpander to create rich text or formatted text snippets, and then you can make notes where you expand these snippets within the TextExpander editor or within other apps which support them. Right now that's drafts, and there'll be more on the way. And then you can turn around and ship off a mail that has, bold, underline, red, different fonts. You can have the kind of custom experience that you're accustomed to on the Mac. And they go backward and forward between the Mac and iOS. And so your formatted text snippets from the Mac work on iOS, and your formatted text snippets from iOS work on the Mac.
Now, how do you go about creating these? Because, as you said, like in in text edit and different things, I know how to do it there, but how do I create them in TextExpander?
Sure. So on the iOS, when you tap for selection, you're then offered the little bubbles that come above your text for what to do with it. And typically those begin with copy, cut, etc. You'll notice now that there's a little right arrow that gives you more options. If you tap the right arrow, there's one option called BIU, which is bold, italic, underline, and they actually do them in that format so you can see what you're doing. And that's standard to iOS 6, and it's available to pretty much any application that supports attributed text. And then TextExpander goes one step further. There's also a format menu item after bold, italic, underline, and that will bring up the complete text picker that we have. So you can set the font, the size, the color, and we have a very iOS-friendly interface for doing that. It should be familiar to anyone who's used Pages, or it would be super familiar if you've used PDF Pen on iOS, because we pretty much grabbed the code from that and used it again in TextExpander.
Okay, so that's how easy it is on iOS. But how about if I'm creating formatted text on my Mac that I will intend to use on TextExpander TextExpander Touch? Is it the same kind of creation of formatted text there?
Well, we use the standard menu items that you would use if you were editing text in TextEdit. So you have access to the format menu, and you have access to the font panel and all of that. So you would create a formatted text snippet on the Mac in exactly the same way that you would edit a TextEdit document. The only limitation that we have right now is that on the Mac you can do a formatted text and pictures snippet. So you can actually have pictures in your formatted text, and that won't work on iOS at this point.
Okay, like something like a signature file, a signature graphic.
Right, that's not supported yet because the iOS formatted text system doesn't currently support image attachments. I mean, they've come so far in iOS 6, I don't think, well, and even if I knew this for sure, I couldn't tell you. I don't know that they've done them in iOS 7, but I suspect not. However, it would not surprise me in the least if they showed up around iOS 8, and when they do, that's the kind of thing that we would certainly add support for.
This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by Squarespace, the beautiful and intuitive website platform that allows anyone to easily create professional web pages, blogs, online stores, galleries, and more in a simple, intuitive interface. This time, I want to tell you about what all you get when you build your site with Squarespace. Sure, you get all the amazing templates so you can get your site up and running quickly and easily. You may have started with a template, but you get full customization options so that you can make your site look exactly the way you want. Change the colors, change the fonts, change the layout. It's all possible with Squarespace, and the customization capability is included. No premium themes to buy. You get easy links to your social media presences. Man and woman do not live by website alone. Hook up pretty much any social media service, including Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Tumblr, Dropbox, Foursquare, GitHub, Instagram, Flickr, YouTube, Vimeo, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and more. That should at least get you started. Images are easy with Squarespace. Just drag and drop, and you're done. Squarespace automatically resizes images so they will look great no matter what kind of screen your visitors are seeing your site on. Desktop, laptop, iPhone, iPad, iPad mini, your image is perfect because Squarespace automatically adjusts the size. And if you need to edit an image, they have a built-in graphics editor that you can use right in your browser. Just think, no more adjustment, then upload, then adjust again, then upload again. Squarespace makes it easy. And that's just the beginning. We'll talk about Dropbox synchronization, easy import from Twitter, Instagram, or Flickr, auto posting to your social media networks, and more later. For now, all you need to know is to go to squarespace.com and use the offer code MacVoices6 to get 10% off your first order. Or try them out for 14 days free, then go back and make your site your own and get 10% off with the code MacVoices6. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional website. Thanks to Squarespace for supporting this edition of MacVoices. Greg, you all just keep sort of moving all of these apps ahead. Occasionally you'll take something that is a big leap, but I always tell people don't overlook just the 0.1s or the 0.01 releases because they have some really nice features in here, features that some other developers would probably take a full point release to show off.
Maybe we're not doing our version numbers correctly so far as press releases are concerned, but nonetheless, we try. I mean, TextExpander Touch, is we did a lot in the 2.0 release to improve stability and function. One thing that users asked us for that we did manage to add, and that we may not have made such a big deal about, is the macros that you can put into a snippet. We've made the ability to insert those through one of those menu pop-ups as well. So it's much easier now to say, okay, I would like a date, or I would like to do date arithmetic, or I would like to nest one snippet within another. So you can access the full power of TextExpander snippets even when you're editing them on your iOS device.
See, he was holding out on us.
I was. I'm sorry. Mea culpa, mea culpa.
No, that's just it. And sometimes those small features are exactly what you need. So, it's much appreciated that you just keep adding them and fixing things and adding more.
Well, we certainly appreciate the feedback that we get from our customers. I mean, the bulk of those changes are things that are entirely customer driven. And so, if you have an itch as a customer, the best way to get that itch scratched is really to send us a mail, because if we don't know that this is bugging you, it's not something necessarily that we'll be able to fix or we'll be able to adjust. But if we do know, absolutely, I can't say that promises for every single thing, but please don't assume that we know, that we must somehow, have it in the collective Smile brain that your specific need. Definitely take a moment to let us know. And frequently the reward for taking a moment to let us know is that we are able to adopt something, because maybe it is something that's very straightforward that helps our product work better for you.
And Smile is always, you have such a great track record of interacting with the community at Macworld, iWorld, at the developers conference, but also online, being very responsive to emails, being very responsive to tweets. I don't know how you manage it, because you have such a rabid fan base, but that may also be a secret to your success. It's just listening to people and implementing what they want.
Well, we're very, very grateful to our customers. I think maybe we've gotten to a point where our customers are also a resource for other customers. I've certainly noticed that if somebody will post something on Twitter and if I'm a little bit behind, sometimes another customer comes to the rescue, and we're incredibly grateful for that. Likewise, we're there regularly, and I'm not the only one there by any means. In fact, Gene is normally the obsessive compulsive Twitter person, but she's on sabbatical right now, so Jonathan is taking that role for the moment. But we have other people to help out, and everyone puts in, pitches in, and that's how it works out.
Greg, how much is TextExpander Touch now?
Sure, TextExpander Touch is $4.99 on the App Store, and it's a universal app, so it's one purchase makes it available to you for both iPhone and iPad.
Terrific, terrific. Well, it's a great release. Again, it's just those few steps forward that are really important. I'm looking forward to getting a little more familiar with some of them now that WWDC is over, because that's kind of been where my head's been for a while. But,
absolutely.
We hope you'll be back and show us some really cool stuff next. Whatever it is and whenever it is, you're more than welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. He's Greg Scown of Smile. Please go check out TextExpander Touch. It is a terrific utility, and of course, right along with it, TextExpander. You can't find a more useful application utility for your Mac and for your iPhone and iPad. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, app.net, Google+, Facebook, and for more Apple, Mac, and tech-related shows, including MacVoices, Mac Notables, the Mac Jury, and the MacVoices Briefing. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com.